I can't.
Okay, so it's Tuesday.
Not Sunday.
Not Sunday.
It's weird. I don't know how to go on a date on Tuesday.
Well, it's the 11th. Tuesday the 11th.
Okay. Tomorrow's the 12th.
Yes.
And we're already 3 weeks in.
And hopefully I'll get my truck back.
I hope so.
Me too.
Because I got shit to do.
Yeah, me too.
Projects.
Yep.
Push the button. Hurry up.
Greetings. This is the Long in the Boot podcast coming to you from the heel of the boot of Southwest Louisiana. I am your host, G. Long. Sitting across the way, of course, is Deb.
Hello.
How you doing?
I am doing well.
What you been up to?
Oh, all kinds of stuff. It's summertime.
It is.
It's
indeed summertime.
Let's get dirty and sweaty and work in the yard.
Gross.
and
get chewed alive by mosquitoes.
It was particularly bad today.
Yes.
Yeah.
Indeed.
If there's West Nile out there, I caught it.
Hey, if you've got West Nile, give us a call at 337-502-9011.
Did you see the little bloodsucker that gave it to you?
Yeah, if you can identify
They
them,
were all
please.
over me. They were all, and I sprayed myself.
I've got little tiny stamps up hanging on a string, and it's mosquitoes that I'm looking for personally, each one individually named.
Yes.
Yeah.
You've given them identities.
And like I said, give us a call if you'd like at 337-502-9011. And if you'd like to reach the Long in the Boot podcast, with text, typed out with your thumbs, I guess.
Speedy little Gen Z millennial.
You can email
thumbs.
us.
Yeah, you can email us.
Actually, you can text us at that number too, by the way. I mean, it's not like it's just a phone.
Yeah, you can send us an offensive text.
Yeah, you can send a text message. I don't care.
No, I don't make it offensive.
You can do that too.
The world is offensive enough.
If you send me an offensive,
you will read it.
I'll read it on the air and then make fun of it. But
look, I'm already scratchy.
Stop it. You're not being bit now.
I know, but I still feel it.
If you'd like
it's the trauma.
Send us an email, of course. It's at longintheboot@gmail.com and the website longintheboot.com for all of your past podcast needs. And there
are a lot of them.
There's a few gems in there.
There are a lot of them. I ain't going
to say they're all gems. No, sir. But
well, you can't score big every time.
No.
But
actually it's an interest thing. Some people will find something more interesting to them than other things.
Oh, sure.
Depending on the topic.
And because it's us, you don't know what you might get.
Yeah,
like
it's true
we may start here and end up somewhere totally different.
Sure.
So you may get something in there that you didn't expect. And as I go back periodically and look at the numbers and what people are downloading and what people are listening to, 2 years later, it's kind of weird sometimes. Like, oh my God, maybe one person listened to something that we recorded a year and a half ago and told somebody else. And then they went, because all of a sudden one podcast will explode.
And of course, these podcasts aren't evergreen. It's not like it'll be, necessarily topical for today. Something might have changed.
Oh, I'm sure many things have changed. Well, isn't that the kind of the joy of listening to you like listening to podcasts, and sometimes they're old and something that they predicted might happen didn't or did, and they got it right.
And I will recommend a podcast that I've been if you're like into biblical history. I'm not talking about the Bible in its supernatural, spiritual way. I'm talking about how the Bible actually came together and what the texts say. There's a podcast called Data Over Dogma. And the two guys that do the podcast are great. They're entertaining. But one of them is
highly educated.
One is very highly educated on basically biblical texts, not just Christian, but Jewish, and even ancient Greek, and he understands the language, so he can explain how things have evolved over time and what was meant and how things were written at a particular time compared to how they're written now. It is a scholar's approach to current research on the history of what we know today as the Bible.
Yeah.
Because if you didn't know, it's been translated a couple of times.
and languages are kind of
and
funny.
Languages have changed dramatically
as we often have talked about language.
So again, try it out. I think it's great. Just go and look at the titles and pick one.
Yeah,
that's what I did.
Start somewhere.
And
it's very informative.
It's very informative.
Yeah.
Data over like slash like a fraction. Data / dogma.
Oh, okay. A literal slash.
Yeah, it's data over dogma.
Yes, but not the word over.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. There you go.
There you go.
That's your plug.
That's my
because you want people learning history.
I do.
And the more knowledge we have as humans, the more we can see multiple sides to issues and not be so narrow-minded.
Yeah, it seems to me if you're going to use a book to rest your faith, you ought to at least know how it came about.
Yeah.
And they're not squishing anybody's beliefs or anything like that. They're just simply
telling you the facts.
Telling you what
He's telling you the data.
And often he'll say, look, this is what we know now.
Yeah.
But it has evolved. So even knowledge of the ancient text has evolved as well. So it is quite interesting. It's
constantly learning and growing.
And entertaining.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Somehow or another, they make it entertaining. And I've learned a lot about Hebrew and Greek and how big of an influence this cultures of that time had on the creation of what would become the New Testament, and also the cultures of the old Jewish culture, how the Old Testament came together. Because a lot of this stuff comes down from oral tradition and was put down in the Jewish Bible. And it's just great. It's outstanding.
There you go.
There you go.
All right.
So had a couple things to talk about.
I know you do. So I put all my stuff on the back burner because I'm just a co-host.
Well, I walked into this podcast studio today thinking about HOAs
because we did have a topic, a main topic.
Yes, how homeowners associations and the evils therein.
Because there's not a lot of positive. I can't find a lot of positive.
Well, there is positive, but it's
provided by the HOAs. They're the ones reporting the positives.
Yeah, it's HOA associations
telling you what good they're doing.
So it's a homeowners association.
Yes,
and so they have lots of HOAs within their assation. They rave about them.
Yes,
they love themselves.
They tell you
we're
all
doing
the
a
things.
Great job.
Well, and they came out of the CIDs.
We'll talk about the reasons for them and everything else in just a second.
I was trying to go back and find what CID stood for because now I can't remember. Oh, yeah. Common Interest Developments.
Yeah, sure.
So before the term HOAs, you had the other acronym CIDs, which are the Common Interest Developments. So those were planned units, single family homes, any.
Yeah, we'll get to all that because it's that itself.
You want to start somewhere else, though.
Well, it started because of a post on the citizens of Ragley Longville.
Oh,
by the way, if you don't go, please.
Oh, you might if you like entertainment.
If you like entertainment,
and
it's a good place to go.
Occasionally just good information.
And always remember to tell people who haven't been there that when they sign up, the first question they have to ask is, "Where do I get good internet?"
Yes, and then the comments will start,
and then you'll be a friend. You'll have friends for life.
Yes, they will all inform you that you're not getting it. You're not getting jack shit out here. There are too many damn people.
Oh, and if you don't like, if you don't like people riding four-wheelers, please tell everyone that you don't like that.
There are some common topics. Yes.
And people will be friendly and helpful and explain to you why.
Trash pickup days.
Yeah.
Basically, the common issues that any community has.
But you know what we don't have? Actually, we probably do. I wonder if those housing developments over by the school have HOAs.
In Beauregard Parish? Shut your mouth.
Well, they're legal. So.
Well, they're legal, but this is Beauregard.
Yeah, so what? I wouldn't be surprised if they don't have some rules over there.
We staunchly support our freedoms.
Because usually they're set up by the developer.
Yes, that was part of the common interest development.
Yeah, so we'll get there.
And the development.
But the post that I read
on
citizens, it was about injection. They're doing a new thing with carbon called carbon sequestering.
There you go.
And what they do is they take carbon, turn it into a liquid, cool it basically, and then pump it into storage underground. And one of the cool things they've decided.
Why are they storing carbon underground?
To keep it out of the atmosphere.
Oh, they're like harvesting it out of the atmosphere.
It's out of industrial.
So
it's
waste.
It's an industrial waste product, but rather than spewing the carbon into the air, they capture it.
Okay.
They store it. They reduce it to a liquid, and then they can run it through pipelines.
I feel like Ghostbusters is coming to mind right now, and their little device to capture their ghost.
This is one of these things that's been going on that a lot of people
didn't go well for them.
Know about, but it's coming to Beauregard Parish. It's already in Louisiana.
Okay,
it's already here.
Facilities to
yes, it's already being done across the South.
Are they? I
should point out again across the South. I'm sure it'll happen out west too. Depends on the geology of a place.
Oh,
we have like those salt domes where we store oil, which doesn't always go well.
Can you put carbon and oil together?
Well, here's what this is what they're thinking.
I'm just going to ask you random questions.
Okay, that's fine. What somebody came up with in Louisiana is, well, we can take that carbon and we can take oil wells that ran dry and we can pump that carbon back in and fill up the chamber where the oil used to be.
But see, I always oil and water don't mix. Do carbon and oil, because you can't get rid of oil in a tanker. There's still
We're not talking tankers. We're talking underground.
Underground. Well, it's a tank still.
No. I mean underground, like from the earth where they first drill and capture it.
So there are no boundaries, no box.
No, it's in the ground.
It's in the earth.
They stick a drill down there until they find an oil and they suck it up.
What the hell is the difference of it being in the air versus being in our soil?
Well, it's a greenhouse gas.
Yeah, but
and if you reduce it to a liquid, it takes up way less space.
Okay.
And then you can put it away somewhere so that it's not damaging the atmosphere.
But what if it's damaging our soil?
Well,
and then
they're saying it won't because it's so deep, which is the argument.
But, that's bullshit because they don't really know, do they?
No, of course not. No. It's new. It's new technology.
Yeah, and then in 100 years, we'll find out we've been screwing the earth even more.
Currently, the carbon capture sites are in the same place where a lot of the worst problems from oil drilling in Assumption and Iberville parishes over there, they call it Cancer Alley sometimes.
Yeah. And sinkholes, is that?
But what they're saying is Louisiana is well positioned for carbon capture because of its unique geology in the maze of already existing oil and gas pipelines that make developing the necessary infrastructure easier. Okay. With 22 carbon storage proposals soon to fall under Louisiana's purview, local environmental advocates are starting to wake up and say, wait a minute, hang on.
So basically they want to put 22 sites across our state?
Yes. And so here's the deal. Joe Biden passed the Inflation Reduction Act, and one of the things in it was to increase federal incentives for carbon capture and storage.
Oh, there's the key.
Federal dollars.
Yeah, we're going to get money.
Carbon capture involves collecting excess carbon dioxide during industrial production and then injecting it deep underground. This injection process requires a permit and will be overseen by the Louisiana Department of Natural Resources.
Well, sure.
Because, of course, it is.
Because there's accountability, people. Always accountability.
And I love this. Louisiana is particularly primed for carbon storage because of its more pliable rock formations.
Oh, is that it?
They're pliable. They move. They stretch.
Kind of like the ethics of our politicians. Their pockets stretch.
So of the states in the EPA's Region 6, which is Texas, Arkansas, Oklahoma, New Mexico, and tribal nations, there's 31 applications for carbon capture. 22 of them are in Louisiana.
Good God.
So anyway, opponents say the health risks of carbon storage would fall on environmental justice communities that are already damaged from the petrochemical industry, and now it's the same industry that's going to start injecting carbon
into the soil, into the earth.
Now the problem is you can't say it's bad in that it's going to fail and cause trouble because it's so new that it hasn't happened much.
Oh, there is some data.
Well. Everybody, I'm sure, has heard of the CO2 poisoning of Satartia, Mississippi. And I may be saying that wrong. It could be Satarta or Satartia.
Think it's Mississippi.
Yeah.
When you said it the first time, I thought you were giving me like an Indian country.
This is Satartia. I'm going to say Satartia.
Okay.
Well, it's Satartia. Satartia.
Okay.
It'd be silly to go look it up.
So in Mississippi, because they've been screwing them first.
They've been doing this. Okay. February 22nd of 2020. And
okay, so it's only been 4 years?
Yeah.
All right.
And this happens literally a month before everything gets shut down for the pandemic.
So February of 2020.
Yes.
Pretty much.
I think this story didn't get covered
because of the pandemic. Okay. Why is it that shocking?
I'll leave it to you.
Okay.
Damaris, Deborah Burns, his brother and cousins all decided to go fishing. They were headed home in a red Cadillac, saw a boom, and saw a big white cloud shooting into the sky.
Okay.
Burns first thought it was a pipeline explosion, so he called his mom to warn her to get inside because the pipeline blew up.
Okay.
He told her he was coming home. She grabbed her children and all went in the back bedroom, got under a quilt and waited, and then they didn't come. She goes, they should have been here in like 5 minutes. They didn't show up. Her sons and nephews were down the road in the Cadillac unconscious, victims of a mass poisoning from carbon dioxide pipeline rupture. As the carbon dioxide moved through the rural community, more than 200 people evacuated and 45 were hospitalized. Cars stopped working.
Oh, my God.
Because there's not enough oxygen in the air to power, so the car can't function.
And the people can't function.
Emergency response couldn't function.
Oh, shit.
People lay on the ground shaking, seizing, and unable to breathe. First responders didn't know what the hell was happening. This guy said it looked like a zombie apocalypse.
Oh, my God. You're right, though. That story, we would have said something about that.
Now, 3 years after the poisoning from the pipeline, some see the incident as a warning.
Yeah.
We're about to see this is insane, 50-fold increase in carbon dioxide pipelines in America.
Oh, my God.
Billions of dollars of federal money has caused the oil company to say, hey, we can replace lost revenue by running carbon the other direction, basically.
Through the pipelines that are already established.
Yes.
So how many jobs will this actually create then? If the pipelines are already built and they're really just using the infrastructure they already have, are they really employing more people?
They are.
They are?
If pipeline work. But 5,300 miles currently of CO2 pipeline.
Across the country or just our area?
Currently.
Oh, okay.
It says that in the next 20 years, it will be 65,000
miles of pipeline.
So that's an additional 60,000 miles of pipeline.
Okay. So are they inspecting the infrastructure that they're about to start up using again?
Well,
if one can explode in Mississippi, then...
The executive director of the nonprofit Pipeline Safety Trust, these are pipeline people, we're looking at these pipelines being a lot closer to people and communities than they are right now, and we are not ready.
Thank you. That's
see, that's the thing. Nobody's thinking of carbon dioxide as being like, I'll bet you they can run a CO2 pipeline closer to people than an oil pipeline. You know what I mean?
Oh, you mean legally?
Yeah, because
getting licenses.
It's just carbon dioxide. Just carbon dioxide. We breathe it all the time. It's in the air. What's the problem?
Well, then why do we need to harvest it and put it in the ground if it's just not a problem? The
idea of sucking up carbon dioxide generated by things like power plants before it heats the planet. And the number one companies right now currently involved, ExxonMobil and Chevron.
Standard Oil.
What a shock.
Just shocking, yes.
And they're pouring billions and billions more into it.
Okay, so is the community going to make a lot more money so that when they have to pay for their health care costs that are increasing?
Let me scare you some more.
Oh, I don't like this.
The rupture occurred at 7 p.m. It spewed CO2 for 4 hours. The 911 center in Yazoo, Mississippi, or Yazoo County, was flooded with emergency calls. In one 911 call, a mother pleaded for help because her daughter couldn't breathe. Her hacking audible in the background. Another 911 caller stranded on the highway described what was happening to her friend. I don't know what's happening. She's laying on the ground and she's shaking. She's drooling out of her mouth. I don't know if she's having a seizure or what. Could you send somebody?
No.
And
our vehicles don't work.
Currently, this method to kill pigs is used in abattoirs. And is now being looked at as possibly being cruel and unusual.
Inhumane.
Yeah. Carbon dioxide in the open air, we are told, will disperse. But third-party air monitoring that night showed the clouds of CO2 hung around for hours.
It's called a weather inversion.
Well, think about it. It's Mississippi.
Yeah, it's humid.
And there's probably no wind.
No. Yeah, remember what coal did in England with their weather inversion?
The cloud of carbon dioxide
doesn't dissipate.
Yeah, caused emergency response vehicles to fail. It displaced oxygen for more than an hour.
All right, well, let's get to the nitty-gritty. Did anybody die?
Actually, no.
Well, then what's the problem?
People were in a field in their UTV, and they just passed out, just cold passed out.
All right, so, what's the problem?
Well, the current health impacts, lung problems for people that this happened to
afterwards
are continuing. Mm-hmm. People are also having some cognitive issues because for a while they weren't getting enough oxygen.
They weren't getting oxygen to their brain. So, oh, Lord, the teachers in that area.
And the brain starts basically killing itself when you don't have enough oxygen because it's trying to survive.
Brain damage.
Yep.
Yeah.
Brain damage.
It begins damaging itself in order to.
Headaches. People have headaches now all the time. Excuse me.
Oh, my God. Carbon dioxide.
Yeah, that's it. I'm dying. So now doctors are finally going, hey, wait a minute. We don't have any method for dealing with this.
Well, that was 4 years ago. Why are they? So now with the story coming out that we're going to have this locally in our area.
We'll need electric emergency response vehicles.
Oh, well, there's always a solution.
Hey.
Technology will win.
You can hire me. Just email me at longintheboot@gmail.com. I have ideas like that.
So are you saying our hybrid should still work?
I don't know. It probably wouldn't because there'd still be not enough oxygen to run the gasoline powered motor.
Part of it.
But electric vehicles would work just fine. And so I see this as a possible benefit, and I think ExxonMobil and Chevron should start talking to the makers of electric cars saying, hey, we should do a dual promotion, basically telling people that an electric car is actually sort of like having one of those.
It's insurance.
Well, you just have one.
Yeah.
It's insurance. It's like the little thing for heart attacks that you can hang on your wall.
Yeah, the IED machine.
Yeah. Wait, AID. AD. Automatic defibrillator machine. ADM?
No. The OED? Quick stat, get me the OED.
ED's, who cares? A defibrillator that hangs on the wall.
I care because if something happens to you down the hall, I want to be able to tell the students.
Go get that shocky thingy. Get the shocky thingy off the wall.
Told my kids that
Bring
before.
it here.
Something happens and my husband goes down, you contact me.
ADE. AED. There it is. Automatic emergency defibrillator. Got it. AED.
American AED. Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
You're
Yay,
welcome.
you remembered.
Woo.
All right.
But anyway, so an electric car could be like an AED. You just have one for when the pipeline ruptures. And so I haven't experienced this. Happened to me at a restaurant that I worked at when I was young, where they had brought dry ice in, unbeknownst to me, and put it in the cooler and in the back corner to keep it cold because it wasn't working right until the guy could come and fix it.
So the dry ice was going to,
And this was Piccadilly's when it was on Ryan Street back in the day, where LA Star is now for you youngsters. Piccadilly's cafeteria.
And Piccadilly in the mall. Good. I miss that too.
A chicken fried steak you cannot believe.
It was delicious.
Anyway, I worked there and I had to go in the cooler to do some counting. And so I was in there. And while I'm counting, suddenly I just got stupid. I don't know how else to put it. Suddenly I couldn't think about what I was doing.
Yeah.
And then I got really lightheaded and I said, I need to sit down. And I literally just sat on the floor of the cooler and a couple minutes, I said a couple minutes, probably only a few seconds, but somebody else came in there and realized what was happening and just dragged me out.
Oh.
And when I came to, he's the one that said, hey, you can't stay in there for any length of time. He said, you'll pass out. Go and get what you need and come out.
You know what?
That's information I could have used.
Yeah, I was going to say, and it's probably because today, I don't know how many people would have actually known. You might not have been saved.
Well, he just saw me laying on the floor unconscious. He pulled me out.
Okay.
I'm sure he knew why because he knew this. He knew the CO2 was in there.
But that's my point. I don't think a lot of people would have known today.
Oh, kids.
Yeah.
Dry ice is made from frozen carbon dioxide.
Like Dave with his mixing bleach and
Oh, we had a dishwasher who mixed ammonia and bleach to clean a pot.
Take that outside.
And then he was unconscious inside the big giant pot.
He was coughing and fell over.
Yeah, he was messed up.
Okay.
I'm sure he had.
But he already started with brain damage, so he didn't know.
Yeah, but he fixed it though, because he used a cigarette to coat his lungs with tar
yes.
so that the damage would not be so bad. So,
all right.
In fact, smoking probably saved him because the acids in the chlorine gas couldn't actually reach his actual
lung tissue. All right.
Oh my goodness. Anyway, so yeah, CO2 pipelines.
Come into Beauregard Parish.
Yeah, it's a small.
I told you we were a free parish.
Yeah, it's small right now, but it's hey. Oh, it's still kind of scary.
Where are they going to put that?
It's
not by the gas pipeline. Or
the
LNG.
One they're talking about right now, the one I read about, said it was going to be west of Singer,
okay,
and south of Fields. Which as I looked at the map, I don't see how that's possible.
Is that like the Mustang Island area where we just had all the fires?
No, it's like when you take the road up to Singer from DeQuincy.
Okay,
27 on the left, you pass Fields, and then you come to Singer. The problem is I've never been able to figure out when I read the article how it can be south of Fields and west of Singer.
All right. Well, let's not think too hard about it.
If it's west of Fields, then it's southwest of Singer, at least in my mind.
Okay. Well, it's called a map. You can look at one.
No.
All right.
No.
So we're just going to speculate.
Yeah.
All right.
So anyway, that
was
what I wanted to kind of hit on real quick, and I thought it was interesting. So when they took, because the company that's doing this is named like Greenfield, or the green is in the title.
Oh, Evergreen.
Evergreen. I think that's it. I think it might be Evergreen, which is just ludicrous.
Okay. It's evergreen until it explodes or until it fails.
Well, if you don't get enough oxygen, you turn green. So.
Well, somewhere along the pipeline, because that's my question. I mean, look, they just closed the bridge. 210 emergency.
Oh, that happened today.
That happened just like an hour ago.
You'll be hearing this tomorrow, but the I-10 bridge eastbound is closed indefinitely. And missing one of the big staple things.
Emergency repairs. But guess what? You can use the other side. It's a bridge. One side is closed for emergency repairs, but the other side is still open.
Yeah, it's like kind of pregnant.
I see. I have problems with all of that. All right.
I do too.
So
the original topic.
Yeah, that before we got off on the environmental issue.
The original topic, we wanted to talk about homeowners associations and the way these things came together.
They're Nazis.
It's because of people, friends of ours, who often ask us why we live in the sticks. and I tell them I like the sticks. I like the quiet, especially when it's quiet. And I like the fact that I'm not told what I can do on my property for the most part.
If I want to put my garden in the front, in the back, on the side, on my roof.
I can't go out and burn a pile of tires. Somebody's going to report it, and they'll tell me to shut it down because it's an environmental thing.
Yeah, that's different.
Yeah, but for the most part.
That's a health hazard. Like carbon dioxide in my earth.
If I wanted to go in the back and build a shed right now, nobody's going to say a word. I'm going to build the shed, and it's done.
No.
And there's no permit.
You're not buying.
I'm not doing anything. Just building a shed. And so that's what I'm talking about. Because a lot of places you can't even do that. If I want to go plant food plants 20 feet from the road, I can do it.
Yes.
My yard.
Okay.
My rules.
Now, there are downsides to it.
Sure.
Because your neighbors might try to burn tires.
Well, but you just call the law. I mean, that's where I'm going to draw the line on you.
Yeah.
You can't be burning tires.
I stay out of my neighbor's business, but
I do too.
Don't cause health problems for other people.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff.
And that's
the other issue, because I tried to find positives to HOAs because I always want to see all aspects. And one of the positives is, we have a junkyard, pretty much on the corner.
Yeah.
One's developing at the other corner because there are no rules. Now, what I see is mosquito.
But there are no rules.
Because they have junk cars everywhere, so there's going to be mosquitoes being bred like crazy. Maybe that's why it was so bad this morning.
No.
We've had so much rain. So that's a negative, or that's a positive to HOAs. They keep your community
to a certain level.
Degree clean.
Yes.
Yeah. Your neighbors can't just start bringing in junk cars and leaving them in their yard.
Right. And that's... Oops.
Maintenance. It's all, they make you do some maintenance.
Yeah. But again, it's still, until they make rules at the county level, then he's got the right to do that. And anybody does. If I want to have 8 cars on my property, it's my property. I can do it.
Okay. So that's one of the positives, but that's not how they didn't start for a positive reason.
Well, it depends on where you were. But in the end, HOAs were created with the purpose of making sure that unwanted elements by certain people didn't come into the community.
Didn't purchase homes in an area that they shouldn't be living in, according to the home builder or the bank giving the loans.
Yes,
and the insurance companies
as well.
We can't, ignore them.
The most of the histories give the HOAs, the first ones, as starting in, get this, Los Angeles.
California. Sure.
Yep.
Sure. Why not?
Well, liberal California? No.
Well,
maybe it wasn't so liberal then. Remember, California actually had armed police preventing people from coming into the state during the Depression.
We've got enough.
Yeah. That was
stay back.
Americans, So not always the progressive liberal mecca that it is today.
No, certainly not.
But it was something called the Arroyo Seco Improvement Association in Pasadena in 1905.
Yes.
And the Los Feliz Improvement Association, 1916.
In Los Angeles.
And these are deed restrictions. They're not really, it's not an HOA yet.
Yeah, it was a new kind of subdivision. It was they were just starting out, trying to establish themselves and find their correct zoning for their residents.
Right. And the whole idea, of course, was a planned subdivision, zoning districts exclusively designed for single-family homes.
Yes. And at the exclusion of all non-Caucasians and sometimes even non-Christians. Well, unless you had servants. You could have domestic servants.
Well, for example, one of them had, no part of said property hereby conveyed shall ever be used or occupied by any Hebrew or by any person of the Ethiopian, Malaysian, or Asiatic race.
Wow.
Yes.
So you got to bring your papers. You've got to have your documentation.
Now, that was, believe it or not, that was all overturned in 1948. But don't worry, people got creative and come up with new ways to, prevent people from moving in.
Well, sure, you've got to figure that out.
Because a lot of deed restrictions were basically nullified by the courts.
Yeah, the court says you can't enforce that. That's the courts ruled against many of those covenants. Shelley versus Kramer was the Supreme Court case. However,
but one of the things about HOAs is that if you want to move into a place that has an HOA, you are tacitly admitting that you approve of it.
Well, sure, you have to.
That's what the court says.
Yes, that you're
signing on to it, so you must approve of what they're doing.
And that was my argument. Don't move there.
Right.
But you say, you might have to be there to work, or maybe that's the only area you can afford to live in.
Or like in some places, it's hard to find
You can't find
HOA homes.
And it's expanding now. Canada is doing it.
Florida is just lousy with them.
Well, of course it is, because you have all those.
But some states like Maryland, I was reading in Maryland, they don't really have a lot of these. I'm like, well, no, because
it's the East Coast.
Well, the times,
Vermont,
everybody's where they work. Everybody's already in the areas they're in. They're not going to change anything.
You mean they're deeply rooted there?
Yes, and so they're not going to change a lot by having all of a sudden HOAs. It won't do any good. Now, I'll bet new subdivisions have them.
If they put up new
But Florida has lawyers who specialize specifically in HOA law.
Well, sure. It's become a retirement haven. So you've got people coming from all over the country moving into newer builds in that area. So, yeah, you're going to have stipulations to keep them safe.
Right. And in the United States kind of helped this happen too, because the idea of an HOA in 1963, the FHA said, hey, you can only get federal home mortgage insurance for condominiums or for homes in subdivisions that had qualifying HOAs. The rationale was that developers wanted to get around density laws. The effect, however, was to divert investment from multifamily housing and home construction or renovation in the inner cities themselves. So basically this caused exodus to the suburbs.
Yeah.
In 1963,
and then
that's when the white flight started.
And then they panicked in the suburbs and said, "Oh dear Lord."
Well, the thing was, though, the suburbs, people were able to get out, and so you left behind the inner cities, now predominantly African American
or low income,
and it created a problem because all these people moved out to HOA areas, and the people in the inner city, even if they had wanted to move, couldn't because they were prevented by some part of the HOA agreement.
Yeah, the covenants, the bylaws,
just different
something.
things.
The board, let's just say the board of the people who live in those communities.
But the board is the people.
Yes, because usually a contractor or a land developer in an area, they establish it, and then once a certain number of lots have been sold, they turn it over to the residents, and then the residents run it.
And so you are giving up your rights to move to an HOA, though.
Yeah.
I was reading about one.
So you have a little government.
Well, some HOAs have a rule that no more than 8 people can congregate, like on your front porch.
Yeah. You haven't gotten to the horror stories of HOAs.
Oh, I've gotten a bunch of horror stories.
I know you have. Maybe you need to get right to that.
But
because that's going to be far more entertaining than the history of HOAs.
That's way more entertaining.
Which were simply developed for regulatory purposes to keep, their areas.
Well,
nice.
In many areas, it was to keep out people of color or Jews. Also.
Yeah, we already said that.
And so that's one of the big problems, the discrimination. But let's see.
But now it's just crazy.
Yeah,
because they're power mad. They become little politicians in their own area.
Sure.
And in many cases, with the exception of our friend in Houston, Chris became the.
Well, he became the HOA.
Yes. So because nobody else would do it, and he was scared that somebody would come along who was a Nazi control freak who would make horrible changes to their area. So that's really what it is. You've just got to, you know what? It's just like politics on a national level.
And I'm all about, people say, look, you don't have to live in a place with an HOA. I would say that is true.
But you're going to be hard-pressed to find.
But in some places, you'll be hard-pressed to find a new home that isn't covered by an HOA.
Yes.
Often
and you
the
may
developers
need to live there for your job.
Well, often the developers set it up.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah.
I already said those things.
Yeah. So if you're buying a home, it's not that the people in the area you move set up the HOA. The developer did. And then from this point forward,
sends it off to.
But it's
residents.
Almost always going to. The problem is people who turn into little Napoleons. Yeah,
yes.
little Hitlers.
That's what I'm saying about politicians. They get power mad and they suddenly decide, we've got to stop this behavior. Yeah. Everybody's house is khaki.
And so our friend, that's what he did. He ran for the president of the HOA he with the intention of getting rid of it, but that couldn't happen. Plus, there's a public pool that people in the area can use.
That was the positive I was looking for. I was looking for HOAs who have amenities and activities, and they do things for their area in order to make it better, not to control, dominate, and squash down the different.
And then you start finding the stories, though, and that's really what it comes down to. It's actually not even the HOA itself. It's these neighbors who take it upon themselves to report people to the HOA, who then have to act.
Yes.
It's in their bylaws. In some HOAs, you can be arrested by order of the HOA if you don't pay a bill to the HOA. Oh,
well, isn't that normally in your mortgage? Your HOA fees are generally part of your mortgage.
Correct. But a lot of people do it's separate, though, from the mortgage payment. Because your HOA is not necessarily part of you. They don't have your mortgage
through the bank,
but they do control you.
Yes, they do.
Because they can seize your home and sell it. They're actually legally allowed to do that if you violate the tenets of the HOA, if you've signed on to that HOA.
Yes, there's actually an entity called the Architectural Control Committee. This is a very common committee within HOAs. They are the ultimate authority to approve or deny a building request, a pool committee, a neighborhood watch committee. They have all these little subcommittees within their main committee to rule every part of your life.
For instance, all city trash cans must be removed within 30 minutes of trash pickups. There will be a fine.
What if you're not home?
Trash pickup is at 10 a.m.
Yeah, you got to work, fucker. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. I get a little upset.
Look, man, you agreed to live here under these rules.
And You know what? I know many people who enjoy that kind of living. It's very uniformed. It's very regulated. They know the rules and they like that.
Yeah.
It's very similar to prison life.
It's very weird.
It is. It's prison life.
I like this HOA got upset with the lady. She repainted, when she moved in, the front door and the shutters were faded, and she repainted them the same color that they were. So it matched everything else, right? It had to be that color for the HOA.
Well, yes, you have to.
Somebody showed up from the HOA and said you used the wrong brand of paint. The neighbor reported you for using the wrong brand of paint.
Oh, it wasn't low VOC?
Who knows?
I'm sure it violated some environmental. You know what you're getting? You're getting the cheapest damn paint I can get. Good gosh.
Most HOAs, I thought this one was funny. Most HOAs that have swimming pools in the area, it's illegal, or you get a notice if you hang a wet towel over like a balcony.
That's unsightly.
Or a chair in your yard.
Heaven forbid it should look like people live there and enjoy life and do things. Your home and your area is a work in progress. You're always.
This guy, when he puts his baby gate up during the day when he's outside with his dogs to keep them in the yard, when he goes out in the evening to take the baby gate down because the dogs are in the house, often there is a fencing violation notice.
Baby gate is a fence.
Yeah, and they stick it to the baby gate while he's inside the house.
What kind of stress would that lead to? I would not be able to deal. I just would not be able to deal with that. And now let's also talk about the insurance factor, because isn't that part of the HOAs also regulate control over the area through insurance companies, because insurance companies will not cover things if they don't have regulations for certain things. Didn't you tell me that?
Yeah. Basically, the insurance company, the HOA has insurance.
They have, yes,
itself. So
especially if they have a pool.
If they don't abide by certain rules that the insurance company lays out for all of the homes within the HOA, the insurance company can deny insurance for the HOA and the homes within the HOA.
The homeowners
that
have, yes.
It's very bizarre.
And
the rules are so different state to state. It's crazy. But it's the idea that you can't use your yard. And my thing is, I get it up to a point. You don't want a bunch of cars parked in somebody's front yard in an area with a lot of houses and kids.
Yes,
But these rules where it's like, your house must be this color, and you can't have any food plants growing in your front yard, which is very common.
And in some cases, not even in your backyard. No plants.
All plants have to be container plants at many HOAs.
That's just insane. But, you may not live there forever. So if you put that magnolia tree back there, it may be an eyesore to somebody.
The number of veterans who have had to fight to keep their companion dogs because of HOAs. Because a lot of HOAs will just ban, like one of them was no dog over 20 pounds. This guy's companion animal was 30.
Oh, good Lord.
Never mind, it was trained.
Yeah, it was a trained dog. It cost thousands of dollars to train those dogs.
The legal fees, lawyers, there's no limit on what they can charge people when they do an action for the HOA against somebody who owns the house. Yeah, the HOA can
just come up with
their own. So the way they can seize your house is the lawyer can say, well, look, I worked on this case for 20 hours and I pay myself $900 an hour, whatever, and you can't pay it. They can put your house into default, put a lien on it, and if you don't pay all the bills and fees, they can seize your home and sell it for pennies on the dollar.
Oh, my God.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, their major power really is that ability to compel your property owners to pay common expenses for overall maintenance and amenities. So above and beyond your HOA yearly fees, they can just suddenly say operation and maintenance of this property has dramatically increased.
Yes.
And now we have to have a special assessment for road maintenance or, X, the pool needs a new liner or we need a new pump.
Anything.
And they can force that on the homeowners.
Yes.
Well, you use the pool.
Now, HOAs are elected. The people in them are elected, but you know how it is in a small neighborhood. It just takes a small group of people to
Well, and not everybody's going to be able to devote the time to run for the board.
Keeping up with it.
And keep up with it. Or if you work and you actually have a life, maybe you don't want to do that. But you're beckoned to because you also need control of your life.
And some of these HOAs, the people in them are so stubborn, they'll go to the mat with somebody over something they're going to lose.
Yeah.
So I was looking at the number of HOAs who actually have lost money because of lawsuits that they initiated.
Oh, that they actually started and then lost in the end.
This guy had a political yard sign that was 4 inches wider than community rules allowed.
4 inches.
4 inches.
Hey, 4 inches.
4 inches can mean a lot.
It can mean a lot.
And so the homeowners, the homeowners decided they were going to the mat with the HOA. They just, I guess they had a lawyer.
They just weren't going to let it go.
It took 3 years, but eventually the HOA coffers had spent $400,000 on legal fees.
And did they charge that to the homeowners that in the area?
So the HOA, because they are technically incorporated,
okay.
the HOA went bankrupt. It was forced to sell the large common area in the middle of the community that gave the community its name, all because of a 4-inch difference.
Wow.
And they asked the man about it. He said, well, there's never been a better argument for knowing how to use a tape measure.
Wow. Okay.
And,
well, do you know how many people, homes and residents are within HOAs in this country? As of 2010, HOAs governed 25 million homes, 62 million residents are within some sort of HOA. So, and that was in 2010. 14 years later, I'm sure it's increased.
Oh, I'm sure it has
tremendously.
HOA fees are going up rapidly. Fraud and embezzlement too. Homeowners associations across the country are using HOA funds for, get this, personal use.
What? That's shocking. Elected officials actually using.
Well, they're not really elected officials.
Okay. Well, you just told me they can take your damn home.
They can
and have it sold for a fee or a fine. Do you know that?
You realize what this has done, though?
HOAs are uncommon in the rest of the world.
Well, of course they are.
Although Canada is apparently on
you
board.
realize now, which that means when you buy a home, if there's an HOA, you have to have the extra expense of a lawyer combing through it with a fine-tooth comb to understand how it functions and what it can do.
Because that's one area where you don't just want to sign on the dotted line and not know what those people have control over.
As we know, dotted lines.
Okay. You sign on the board or on the glass.
Yeah,
Use
over
your
and over and over.
Sign on the glass.
But yeah, so for people who don't always ask that question, why don't you
live in
why don't you live in a city where things are easier? It's because then you're probably going to have to live in an HOA or a rental property, which is the same thing.
So you still have the maintenance. You still have to make sure, and you've got the added cost. Plus, you've got somebody, big brother, looking over your shoulder. Your HOA looking over your shoulder for every little thing you do. So again, for some people, they want that lifestyle.
True.
It's clean. It's organized, routine. You know what to expect. I'm telling you, it's exactly like a prison.
I think what it is what makes a good HOA, at least from what I was reading, was they actually simply take care of the things that you expect an HOA to take care of.
Yes, that you have good water coming in, that your maintenance is taken care of. Everybody in your community keeps up their stuff, but you don't freak out if somebody's lawnmower breaks and they can't mow their lawn for a period of time. I can't mow my whole yard right now. I would probably get a fine or a ticket.
Well, you wouldn't be an HOA because we'd be much closer to our neighbors then. So you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Because it's planned. All these communities are planned.
That's true. We wouldn't have a low-lying area and have a place I couldn't mow because it's a marshy swamp.
Our HOA is Mother Nature.
Yes. Mother Nature absolutely dictates what I can and cannot do out in my yard.
Yes. By the way, invention needs to be made. Hoverboard lawnmower.
So I can mow the muddy areas because it's freaking me out.
Well, it's already got a propeller spinning, right, to keep it above the ground.
Yeah, but
let's sharpen that bad boy.
Those tires keep getting stuck. I get in a squishy area and I feel it start to stick and I gun it and try to move fast and, oh, God.
It's terrible.
You got to be skilled at it.
All right. Well, we got to wrap it up, I think.
Of course we do.
But I did want to, one last.
What's your, you got something?
Well, I got one last thing to go out on. Did you have something?
No, I put my stories away because I saw you were going to stick with this for,
Well, it has to do with something we saw on the news the other night. We already
talked about the history, the current, and the future of HOAs. They're getting bigger.
Oh, there's going to be more of them.
Oh, yes. Much. And that's going to be nice. The young people of today who are going to be the
young
future,
people don't like them.
Do you think?
No, I know so. You can look at the data.
Over dogma?
No, that's a different thing.
Okay.
Turns out that baby boomers are the happiest with HOAs.
Well, yeah, because they have to.
Because they're old.
They have to do less. More is taken
feel
care
safe.
of. It's safe. It's controlled.
Right. It makes sense.
It's routine. Yes, I understand that. For
then
people.
the next group down, which is not millennials, the other ones. Anyway, it literally follows age.
Oh, okay.
So the youngest people think they're stupid.
Okay. But when they become parents and have kids and see, it's going to happen to them. Mm-hmm. All right. Young people that listen to our show,
and I think it's money driven now. Most people, because the fact is, in most neighborhoods, if you just basically follow the basic rules,
you'll be okay.
You'll be okay.
Yeah, but what if you want to do something creative? What if you want to have, I want to put a colorful totem in my front yard.
Nope.
I got a Zen Buddha wall I want to put up.
Nope.
See, I can't live here.
And that's the deal.
Because I get a whim and I want to go try it.
Well, there you go.
Well, then I'm going to stay.
You're a bad neighbor.
I'm going to stay free and proud to be an American.
Proud to be. That was the story I wanted to talk about.
You wanted to talk about the bull?
Yes.
Everybody saw the bull.
So, I know, but you got to listen.
Oh,
and that's the problem, because in the very background, if you really pay attention, the line in, the song we're talking about.
Rodeo happening.
Rodeo's going on.
Out.
They got a rodeo running, and there's a bull in the ring. And in the background, if you listen, it's Lee Greenwood singing.
He's proud to be an American.
Is that what the name of it is? Proud to be an American?
I don't know.
Yeah, well, he in the song.
When he says,
I'm proud to stand up. Right at that moment, one of the bulls jumps into the crowd. He just goes nuts. He just jumps into the crowd.
And leaps over the fence.
Leaps over the fence and gets into the crowd.
Didn't kill anybody,
strangely enough.
That was shocking.
Well,
you're in a rodeo. You need to be aware. Head on a swivel.
If you really pay attention in the background, you can hear everybody's standing up.
They're singing.
And they're singing the song. And then the bull just launches right on the stand up. Stand up, boom, and he launches.
All right. Well, it was amusing to us.
And it was great. And the final thing, the United States won cricket, a game nobody cares about. And they're bragging about how the United States beat Pakistan for the very first time in cricket.
Did you see the team? It was very diverse.
But they didn't really ever say that in the news. That was really funny. They were like, it's the first time. It's so unexpected, such an upset. And it turns out that the American team is mostly immigrants from India or Pakistan.
Yeah.
So the people who are the best at cricket just beat a country that's good at cricket.
Yes.
Now, there are some Americans on the team. I mean, not Americans. They're all Americans.
They're all Americans.
No, actually, a couple of them are not. But
they're not citizens yet?
No, not yet.
I don't care.
I don't care either. I just thought it was funny that the news portrayed it as,
are you living here and
it's this amazing thing that the American. No, it's not amazing at all.
They just had to get Pakistani people here to play.
Sure.
Yeah. And
why not?
Yeah. Our country's full of immigrants.
Sure. It's like when Canada goes and gets players that are not quite up to par in the NFL
and brings them to
play in the Canadian Football League. They have careers. They just don't have American careers.
Yeah, you just took a different path.
Yes.
All right. And some people take a different path and they live in HOA communities.
That's
and
right.
They love it. And others it comes to blows. In some cases, they take your home.
Turn out, and I didn't even get to talk about the 500 serial killers in our nation's highways. Darn.
Well, that sounds like its own show. Stop that. You know what? We'll put that with the topic I didn't talk about that I had.
Which is?
Manifesting.
Oh,
the new buzzword.
The new buzzword.
It's not a new buzzword because, as we always establish.
Well, no, manifestation. The word is ancient.
We go back. Yes. So we've got history, we've got modern, and the future of manifesting.
Yeah, sure.
Yes. So
Well,
we talked about the past of HOAs and where they're going in the future. We can just say more control.
I guess we should manifest an ending for the show.
We are going to manifest an ending. You need to find your balance. You need to maintain in your life. Don't let the bastards get you down, because they will get you down.
Oh, they're bastards.
They will, all of them. And do what you want in your damn yard.
That's right.
You want to plant a vegetable garden? Plant a vegetable garden.
Go plant a mater.
I will stand on my vegetable garden.
That's right. I'll plant my flag on this hill.
HOA be damned. You know that your joy is out there. Take it with you.
All right.
And have a good week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have two.
Enjoy it with your lovely people.
Yeah, that's right. Enjoy. And we'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye-bye.
Bye. Non-Christians as well.
Huh?
I was reading something.
Oh, about
non-Christians. No. Actually, I was reading the history of HOAs.
Oh yeah, it's
well for the 20th century.
Yeah, I know that story.
Yeah, Pasadena.
It depends on where you go.
Well,
many people take credit for being first. You notice that?
Yes, I did. There's lots of confusing information.
There were lots of racists.
And the Los Feliz Improvement Association in Los Angeles.
Yeah, in Orange County, and then the Nichols Plaza area in Kansas City.
Well, and then you also have Levittown.
And Levittown being the first suburb.
Yeah, and that really wasn't so much an HOA as just a business-owned community.
With rules.
With rules.
Yeah.
And they had you by your balls because they didn't just have your house. They had your job.
It was basically deed restricted.
Yes.
Levitt, the actual guy.
And the children of deed restrictions in a new kind, it's an extension of deed restriction areas with a planned subdivision.
Yes.
Okay. And I don't know how I got to normally included provisions, minimum, home construction, exclusion of all non-Caucasians and sometimes non-Christians.
Well, sure.
Except domestic servants. Like if you want to have a butler or maid.
I bet they still needed to.
You got to report them. You got to say I've got 2 Mexicans and two black folk working my property. So you got to tell them. That way nobody's going to be scared when they see them on property.
True.
I saw a Mexican in my neighborhood. What was he doing? He was trimming bushes.
Oh, my God.
And nobody complains about Manuelo when he's cleaning their pools.
Okay, let's see.
So wait a minute. What was the CID versus an HOA? I remember seeing that. Common interest development. Okay.
Wow. Hang on.
Are you still reading?
Well, I want to get to the end of the actual story here real quick, because I've never heard of this. And when you read,
okay, well, you're going to tell me about it because I didn't read it and I don't know. So
I am
ignorant.
Now, it is a story off of NPR, so you know. Liberals.
I'll take information anywhere. If I know that the site, like Fox or NPR or CNN, I take that into consideration when I read the story, and I judge based on my multi-thoughts.
Well, I've got experience with this, actually, in a way.
Okay, well, that's not.
Yeah, I'm going to start with this story. We'll see how far it takes us, and then we'll go HOA after that. Right?
I assume so, because all I got is Wikipedia on HOAs. That's it. I put away my other story, and
I've just got some stories about. We'll say what HOAs are for the people out there. Why people constantly ask us, why do you live in the country? Why,
Yeah.
wouldn't you like to live
What does the sign say when you come into Beauregard Parish about like you can do whatever you want here, essentially is the message that there's not. When we come into town, there's a sign and it's about like the freedom of living in Beauregard Parish.
I don't know what it is.
Okay. I didn't write it down, but I've seen
shame
it for
on you.
years.
You're not doing your research for the show. You don't care. You don't care about the show.
I care about you. That's why I'm here.
Oh, yeah.
We established that. When Habs had the third habits, habitio, then I said to you, there is no way that man's going to have time for any of this foolishness. As much as he may want to, he's not going to have time for this. And
because 3 kids separated enough by years that their friends all have birthdays, so there's literally a birthday.
Oh, there's
party
something happening
nearly
every weekend. So
wow.
Yeah. So I picked up the slack. I may not be Habs.
Fun fact. Every child
has a birthday. Every damn year.
Every year.
Maybe we just need to celebrate 3 pivotal birthdays in a lifetime.
Well, maybe we do it instead.
1.
Get rid of the penny.
13.
5.
No. 1.
5 is good.
1. Your first year of life.
You don't know what the
outside the womb.
But you don't know what's going on.
It doesn't matter. That's for the parents.
Oh,
that's for the adults and the grannies. Those people are still alive.
Yeah. Okay.
By the next one, pivotal 13.
No, 5 because you're kindergarten. No. You're going to school. You're becoming a person.
You get all kinds of shit then. You got kindergarten. You've got kindergarten graduation. You got all that stuff. 13 and then 21.
I don't think that's enough birthdays.
And then we just don't care after 21.
No, 18 is bigger than 21.
Not legally.
Yes, it is. 18 is when you become an adult.
Not in most states.
18 is when you're an adult.
21, you can drink.
That's like the only thing restricted.
That's a biggie for some.
Well, I'm sure it is, but most people get it before they're 21 anyway.
Oh, sure, because most people.
But 18 is a bigger deal because you get to vote. You become an actual U.S. citizen.
Okay, all right, and then after
you're a citizen before, but you don't have
18, we don't really care because
you don't have emancipation until you're an adult. So
we're grown-ups and we don't have emancipation.
You can sign a contract. Basically, you can go into debt.
Taking all my freedoms.
Where are my freedoms gone?
They've gone to the HOA.
Where my country gone?
HOA. All right.
They're being HOA'd out.
HOA.
Slowly but surely.
We're all butt fuddled.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.